Hi guys, today we're going through the process of making a daily render with Octane Render, which if you don't know is a GPU accelerated fast traced engine and it's plugin for Blender, so we can use Octane, which is actually paid, but the Auto team, which is the developer of this amazing engine, released it for free if you want to use it with Blender. So yeah, you can download it, as you can see here, from just searching Blender Octane and downloading from the forum. You will need an account to do that, so just sign up and download the server and the Octane version. Just install it, it's a regular installation, and first run the server. I'm getting just an error because I already have that, and singing, right click to the server and activation and syncing to your account. Next is you need to fire up the Octane edition of Blender, so not the standard, the Octane edition. And there we go, we can use Octane now, but as you can see my layout is a bit customized, so I as well just reset it and show you my whole workspace. So this is the standard. And what I'm going to do is give myself more space to the left so we can add a 3D viewport by splitting there. So this is going to be our render viewport. So it's pretty small and yeah, that's it. Another split on the big 3D viewport, so we can add a shader node, that's for our material, and disable the axis and the overlay for our rendered viewport. And also let's give us a bit more space on the properties by sliding up that panel. So that's my basic layout with Octane Render. So if you press render there, you will see magic. It's rendered with Octane. Side note, you will need an NVIDIA GPU that supports CUDA 5.0 or upper. I think that's it. I'm using a 2060 Super. So that runs smoothly and perfectly, and since this is an RTX card, I also enable the RTX backend, which, you know, you can Google how to do that, it's that simple. Another option that you have with Octane that cycles, you know, it's not so easy to change, is the ability to change the kernel type, which we can choose between a bunch of those. Here we have the default, which is direct lighting, which is gonna cast a rays and bounce them, I think so, one time. So one bounce only, which is, you know, pretty fast, but it's not gonna give you a fully photorealistic result. And then you have the normal path traced engine, which is a bit slower, but, you know, produced high quality results and better images in general. So here, first thing to add is a camera, because without that, Octane cannot render. Second, I'm gonna spawn a plane, like you can see here. I'm gonna make this 20 meters, I think, yeah. And I'm gonna switch the world to a texture environment and set this to black, because we don't want any lighting. And let's add in an area lamp just for some quick lighting. Don't worry, we're gonna change it later. Okay, and just click on use node and increase the power on the texture emission here. Alright, so for the plane, I'm using a material from Quixel Bridge, which is free, if you didn't know, so just sign up for a free account, you will get a lot of materials, a lot of 3D surfaces, whatever, it's amazing, just use it. Right now, you can't export it like if all these cycles, you need to open the file folder and then manually drag the texture one by one. Which is really unfortunate, the export button doesn't work in the freaking Octane render, so, you know, you're getting that. But whatever, delete the universal material and replace it with a glossy material, which is like a low roughness material, and then just simply connect the map to the roughness, albedo, and normal socket here. So basic principled BSDF setup here. I'm gonna add in a scale transform, which is basically a mapping node. So let's scale down the UV so we have a lot more scale in the scene. As you can see, I'm trying to do some minor adjustments with the texture, but you can do that yourself. That's no problem. Okay, so I'm gonna import I think it's a Vans shoe model that I downloaded online and converted to FBX. If you want to download it, there's a link to the description. So if you want to try it out yourself, and I'm gonna delete the empty. So we have only the shoe, and I'm gonna rotate it into the x-axis by 90 degrees. Okay, so as you can see, Octane Render fully imported all the texture, which is good. Okay, and I'm resizing the shoes to something more reasonable than 2 meters high. Okay. And I'm setting up the camera by changing the dimension to 1500, so it's a 1:1 aspect ratio, and changing the kernel type to path traced. Okay, so I'm positioning my camera, positioning also my render viewport, changing the focal length to something more cinematic and wide to like 30, I think I used. Okay. Some minor adjustment to the camera to make it perfectly centered. Okay, so I'm bringing the shoe in the foreground, so we have this nice silhouette of the shoe, which the camera can fully cast. And another side note, the only lights that work in Octane are or object, which have like an emission texture, or the area lights. So yeah, there's that. So no pointer, no sunlight, and no spotlight in Octane. Okay, and I'm adding a cylinder, which if you saw the final render will be like the principal light. So I'm using an array to get a lot of copies of the cylinder, and enlarging the distance between each of those. I'm creating a new material, deleting the universal material, and replace it with a diffuse, which is a 100% rough material, and using a texture, a black body emission, plug this into the emission, and it's basically an emission shader in cycles. So now I can position them behind the shoe, get them super long, position them pretty cool, and increase the power and check those two checkboxes because they're gonna make everything much more photoreal. I'm also using a power of 500, but I found that the sweet spot for this scene. And another side note, you need to enable the Octane image camera, because if you try to render this now, like a final render, it will look completely different. So you need to enable the Octane image camera image or whatever that is, and just play with those values. And I'm looking at the material of the shoe, and as you can see, we have the base color already plugged in. What I'm gonna do is spawn a specular material, which is basically a gloss shader. Specular materials equals thing that needs to be something like transparent. Adding a diffuse and a mix material, plug those material into the mix and connect the mix into the surface. All right, which I'm also gonna change later. So yeah. Just for now, I'm gonna use a diffuse and specular material. So as you can see, we have some pretty high value of roughness, but we're gonna change that later. Adding a subdivision surface to up the resolution of the shoe because it's a pretty low res model. And for the viewport improvement, I'm also gonna apply it to reduce any calculation. Alright, so as you can see, with Control B you can box select something, and I'm gonna show you the difference between direct lighting at path tracer. As you can see, we have a lot more bounces with path tracing, and everything looks a lot more soft and into this scene than with direct lighting, but you know, the choice goes to you, so choose whatever you want. I'm adding a noise texture. Sorry, yeah. No, I'm not adding noise texture. I'm adding a marble texture, which we are gonna use to drag the factor of the mix material, and setting everything to like a super low res texture. Well, so it's like basically a what is called in Ren, like a wave texture, yeah, a wave texture in Vanilla Blender. Adding a full transform because I want to rotate it. So first I'm gonna rotate it to 90 degrees, and then later in the video I'm gonna change it to another angle, but whatever. That's like basically a mapping node. Okay, adding a gradient texture, which is basically, guess what, a color ramp. I don't know why Octane has to change freaking every name, but whatever. Setting the interpolation mode to constant, and bring the slider to almost half, and making that super low res, so it's almost a straight line. Okay, so previewing that material, we're getting this super cool abstract half glass, half shoe material, as you can see, which looks pretty good. Then what I'm gonna do is add a Solidify Modifier, because right now the shoe is full like of glass, but in reality glass is like a fine surface. So I'm adding a another inner level. You know, you get it. It's a Solidify Modifier, whatever. And then I'm also gonna apply it, I think, maybe, whatever, you know, it's doing its effect. So no, you don't need to apply. And as you can see, we have a lot more definition in the glass, and you need to lower the roughness because it's, you know, double-sided now, you know, it's 2 layers of glass. So lower your roughness even to like 0.001, it's gonna be fine. And that's basically the render. Yes, changing the IOR to 1.52, which I like. I don't know if that's proper IOR, but I like it. Fake shadows, use it, don't use it. I don't know, I tried it. I didn't see any difference. Then I'm gonna do a little bit of fog, you know. And by creating a fog in Octane is not so easy. You know, cycle easy, principle, the STF easy, man. But here, if you include the camera into the fog, it's gonna whatever, it's a mess. So you need to use a cube to drive the domain of the fog, but don't include the camera. So just position in front of the camera, don't include the camera. Just use a specular material and a scatter medium. Set that index to 1, roughness to 0, and the scattering to a lower value. And also, you're gonna see now it's looking wrong. So what you need to do is bring the scattering color to white, so it's being foggy everywhere, and that's basically the fog done. Right now it's looking kind of wonky, so I'm lowering the clipping start point of the camera. Yeah, also resizing the fog so it barely fits the camera out. And also I'm gonna turn down the density and also the step volume, because if you set that to too low, it's gonna look all wrong. So repositioning the domain to look it more cool or whatever. And right now you're gonna see me lowering again the density, but this fog is not, you know, it's pretty uniform, and you're gonna have some variation. So adding is noise texture into the scattering color, adding some detail adding some contrast to make it look more constant. You get it? Okay, you get it. And right now the noise is too big, so adding a scale transform connected to the transform socket and lower the value to something smaller, and then lowering the contrast. Adding some color ramp to control the fog with some sliders here, and setting the white point to a middle gray so it's not fully foggy but a bit less. And that's basically the scene done. Lots of little adjustment, turning up the light, resizing down the cylinders because they're too thick, enabling some bloom on the camera, and yeah, use fast rays. That's the key. And also set the GI clamp to 1 because it's gonna eliminate all those fireflies that you see in all those crappy render. Yeah, that's basically it. So it's pretty easy. What can I say? First impression, easy with Octane, you know. With cycles, it's gonna. If I would have done in cycles, it would take me like double the time because cycles is slow and it's not, you know, Octane is $700. Hope you get the point. Okay, so again, lots of little adjustment. I'm rotating the shoe, whatever. And then I'm gonna render it. Use like 1200 samples. You know, still a bit of noise, but you weren't noticing that much. And in the final render, I also decided to eliminate the shoe material and leave it transparent, which I've done it by just connecting the noise texture into the opacity of the specular material, and then the specular material goes directly into the material output. Okay, so let's wait it to render. And then some compositing in vanilla blender, and guess what? Some color correction, some double flare, and some lens distortion. And there you go, you have a beautiful render. I just posted that into my ArtStation, so if you wanna follow me or hire me for whatever freelance project, there's my ArtStation portfolio in the link below. I also used a reflective plane, which is a little secret. I will not tell you, but maybe in the future if you want to. So yeah, thank you. Thank you a lot for watching this tutorial. I hope you really enjoyed it and really helped you start, like motivate to start learning Octane and Blender because it's a really awesome combo. Yeah, just if you want to support the channel, there's the paypal.me in the description where you can support the channel. Yeah, I also have a Gumroad page where you can buy some of my products. Then some of them are free, some of them are paid. Whatever. Yeah. See you in the next tutorial. Bye.